I was so close to dying that day, and I was only 18 years old. Let me take you back. On January 1st, 2012, I was in a car with two of my best friends. We had just rung in the new year, shopping, listening to music, just doing things as usual. And on the drive home that day, on a road actually not too far from here, there was a car on the other side of the street that started to flash its bright lights at me, repeatedly, annoyingly. And it turned out that what it was trying to do was alert me of a car in my lane on the wrong side of the road, coming directly at us at a speed much faster than we were going. And before I knew it, it was so close that I could actually read the letters and the numbers of the license plate. And that's when I realized that if I did not move our car right then, we would be dead. After a quick swerve and just barely missing the car, we stabilized on the side of the road and were finally able to catch a breath. I had tears in my eyes. We had almost just died. And with my hands clamped on the steering wheel and my mind racing, I remember thinking of one thing in particular, and that was, where did I stand in that moment with the relationships in my life? I thought about when I left the house that morning. What were the last words that I said to my mom? Did I say, "I love you," or did I just rush out the door like usual? And I thought about my friends, be it my best friends or those who I hadn't spoken to in years, and did they know how much I appreciated them? I went home that night incredibly flustered, and I thought about this for a while, about 11 months actually, until Thanksgiving Day last year, when I found myself in New York City in my aunt's apartment, sitting on her couch, about to go to sleep for the night. I was on my phone, as we all are, flicking through the Facebook statuses of the day, and I could see how people were expressing their thanks and their gratitude to those in their lives. And as I kept scrolling, I suddenly became so puzzled, and I thought to myself, why on earth does this have to just be one day? Or better yet, why only here online? Why can't we do something more, something deeper, something more meaningful? And that's when the light bulb went off in my head. I sat up and I literally said out loud, I have an idea. So, naturally, I told my world. I made a Facebook status about it. And I said that I had this idea where for the next 365 days, I was going to try and say thank you to one person every single day with no repeats. I would either call them up or I would sit down with them in person, and I would tell them thank you for the meaning that they've had in my life, for the impact that they had made. And at the end of the day, I would write a blog post about them, first speaking to their individuality, and then thanking them again for all that they had done. Now, at the time, it was just an idea, and I had absolutely no clue where this would take me, but I went for it. So I started the next day. The first person I thanked was my best friend in a coffee shop in New York City, and it felt so different, but it was so much fun at the same time. Nonetheless, boom, one down, 364 to go. Now, as I continued, I thanked different high school teachers, I thanked different mentors in my life, artists, friends, and before I knew it, I found myself at number 170, my dad. Now, I knew I wanted to thank him in person, so I waited until I flew home from school. And on my first day back, I found myself with him on the golf course, a place we hadn't been together in years. And as the day went on, I kept trying to find him alone, but it was tough, and I was nervous. So nervous, in fact, that when I finally had him sitting alone on a bench, waiting for the couple in front of us to play, I could literally feel my heart pounding in my chest. And I remember thinking to myself, why? All you're doing is saying thank you to him. That's literally it. But this was new. This was different. I had never, in my entire life, just sat down with my dad only to say thank you. Never. Now, as I finally started the conversation, I thanked him for everything. I thanked him for the lessons I had learned from him and for the adventures we'd been on together and for the foods that he's made me try, reluctantly, and for the times when he'd pull me back on a walk and say, Brian, come here. Look at the way the sunlight is hitting that cloud right now. Isn't that gorgeous? I thanked him for how he's helped develop me into who I am today. His reaction was humble, and yet we would embark on a 2-hour conversation about our relationship, and ever since, I feel like something has been unlocked. I felt like I've been more open with him, and I felt happier. I felt like I had released this secret that I've kept hidden forever. And yes, I'm gay, and he's known that for years. But for some reason, voicing my appreciation to him was more nerve-wracking and more stressful than coming out to my own father as gay. Why is that? All I was doing was saying thank you to him. That's it. Again, it's because I had never done this. It was foreign to me. And yet, ever since, our bond has grown so much stronger, more tangible, much more real. Now, I pushed on forward, and I thanked my kindergarten teacher, I thanked my high school soccer coach, I thanked other friends of mine, and I found myself at number 249. I was back here in San Diego for a few weeks over the summer, and on the drive home that day, I pulled over to the side of the road to take a phone call from my friend Kayla back in D.C. And as I was on the phone with her, I was looking through the window of my car, and I could see this guy walking with his mom. And as he got about parallel to my car, I realized that, oh, that was David. Now, David was this kid who I had gone to elementary school with. And truthfully, I'd never said more than 10 words to him growing up, and neither him to me. But I noticed him. You see, David has Asperger's syndrome. And growing up, he was bullied. A lot. And I was always amazed at how he would just let the comments roll off his back. How he would keep his head held high through it all. And I realized how much I learned from him. I learned how to be proud of who I am. I learned how to be confident. I learned how to have a thick skin. And as I was remembering all of this, it just clicked. And I literally dropped the phone with Kayla still on the line, and I rolled down the window, and I yelled across the street, David, can you come here for a second? I want to tell you something. As he came over, I reminded him who I was, and I thanked him right there through the window for the influence that he's had in my life. And as I was doing that, his mom, who was standing just a few steps back with her hands over her face, I could tell that she was crying. And that's when I realized that maybe David has never heard this before. Think about that. You see, people don't know we appreciate them unless we show it, unless we verbalize it. We hope they do, and we think that they know, and we assume that they know. But they honestly just don't unless we tell them. Now, as I've continued, this has become more than just a project. It's become a way of life for me. It's become natural. Truth be told, I honestly cannot remember what it feels like to not say thank you to someone like this every single day. I wake up every morning, and the first thing I think is, who am I going to say thank you to today? And for what? Instead of, man, this class is going to suck. And then I spend the rest of my day looking for the good, and honestly, it is absolutely everywhere. But in reality, we all appreciate, right? I know we at least think about it, but how often do we actually say it? I spent a lot of time and months now thinking about how do I want to end my project, my 365th thank you, for rounding out my year, completing this journey. And after months of deliberation and stress, I know that I found the perfect fit for it. My 365th thank you is actually to all of you, right here in front of me. All of you are sitting here with such eager eyes and bright minds and truly have the potential, the unlimited potential, to change our community right here and our world at large. And for that, I have to say thank you. Thank you so much just for listening and for being open to these new ideas and experiences and for taking what you've heard here today and for putting it into action tomorrow. And with that, I really want to call on us to think about these people in our lives that we appreciate, those that we have gratitude for, those that we're thankful for, whether it's a best friend who you've known for years, or maybe it's a loved one, or maybe it's somebody who held the door open for you here today. And really think about what have they played a role in your life. And let's not stop there. Let's say it. Let's tell them before it's too late. Thank you so much.